Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the installment of Scott Selections here with WinnersWiners.com for Wednesday, November 18th. Before we get into today's play of the day, a quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up picking up a nice, easy winner with the Kent State Golden Flashes team total over 42, which was available on Fox Bet at minus 110. Pretty easy cash. They had 35 points in the first half. He ended up cashing with, I don't know, about 8 minutes left in the third quarter. They ended up with 69 points, so that was a pretty fun game to watch. They also covered the spread. Game was close for about a half or so. But Kent State went up and down the field, did whatever they wanted, and they ended up scoring roughly 70 points. So that was a nice, easy winner. And now for today's play of the day, we're going to be going back to the MAC, as there's really nothing else on TV. The NBA draft is also going to be on, so you could be watching that if you don't have any interest in actually watching college football. But I was looking at some props for it, thought about doing a draft show. But there's really so much unpredictability with this year's draft because there's really no clear-cut number one guy. You can make the argument that it's either Edwards or Ball, which I can't really disagree with. But there's been conflicting reports about both. You have the comments from Edwards lately. I really didn't want to jump on any draft props, even though a lot of you might know that I like to dabble in that type of stuff. But I really didn't find much value. So for that reason, I'm not going to be doing anything on the draft. Before today's play of the day, there are three matchups, and we're going to be looking at I'd say the headliner here. It's going to be between the best matchup of these three ones, and it's going to be between Central Michigan and Central Michigan, taking place at 7 p.m. Now, Western Michigan originally opened up as a 1-point underdog. Now they're 1.5-point favorites, mostly market-wide. And for the play of the day, we're going to be taking Western Michigan -1, which is available on Fox Bet at minus 110, a time recording of 11:56 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, a couple reasons why I like Western Michigan in the spot. Western Michigan comes into this game following a thrilling come-from-behind victory against Toledo, in which they trailed by double digits with roughly a minute to go, ended up scoring a touchdown, missed the extra point, recovered an onside kick, scored a touchdown on a fake spike. Game was crazy, but they are 2-0. They do have a very solid offense. They have scored at least 40. They've scored at least 41 points in each of the first two games. Defensively, they are not that great, if I'm being completely honest. They ended up giving up 38 to Toledo. Now, for this matchup, they're going to be going up against Central Michigan, who has a very solid defense, at least on paper, as Central Michigan is currently allowing 18.5 points per game. However, it is worth mentioning that Central Michigan has had a very easy schedule up to this point. If you look at who they've beaten Ohio, who struggled to even beat Akron, and they also beat Northern Illinois, who is probably the third worst team in the entire conference, ahead of Bowling Green and Akron. So Central Michigan might be 2-0. Their numbers look very good on paper, but they've had a very easy schedule up to this point. And if you have watched Ohio, you'll know what I'm talking about. They gave up 27 points to Ohio. They gave up 10 points to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois' offense is so anemic that I'm not even going to bother counting that. But looking at Ohio here in the first matchup, that defense did not really play well at all. Western Michigan's defense was very solid against Akron, but that's kind of similar to describing Northern Illinois. Both offenses aren't that great. I know Akron had some success yesterday, so this offense might not be as bad as people think it is. But Western Michigan, I do think, has enough talent to at least slow down the Central Michigan offense that loves to run the ball. Central Michigan has a lot of balance. They're averaging 219.5 passing yards, 210 rushing yards. So this team loves to run the ball. However, Western Michigan's rushing defense has been very solid up to this point, and I do think that it should be able to limit Central Michigan's rushing game after stopping Toledo's ground game last week. Central Michigan also, something that you have to keep in mind is the fact that this team has not fared too well against Western Michigan in the past. If you look at the recent results between these two teams, Western Michigan has won each of the last two meetings, and they have won 5 of the last 6. So Central Michigan seems to never really get Western Michigan's number, and I do think that in a game that has a spread that's this low, I do think that Western Michigan, who has dominated the series and has looked like the much better offensive team, should be able to give Central Michigan serious fits defensively, and I do think that Western Michigan should be able to take care of business and win this game by at least 2 points. If you want to take the money line just to be safe, you can. It's roughly -118, -120. But at -1, I'm going to take it. I do think that there's a reason why money has come in on the Broncos in this spot. Home field's not going to mean as much because you're not going to have a full crowd, etc., which everybody already knows. But for me, Central Michigan's giving up 92 rushing yards per game, which is very, very impressive. But Ohio has been awful in terms of yards per carry, and Northern Illinois, even though they looked good against Buffalo, technically scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the first game, they only averaged 3.3 yards per carry. So even though their 92 rushing yards per game is one of the best in the country, they have faced 2 teams that have had serious issues in the trenches in terms of offensive line, and I think that Central Michigan's defense will struggle a lot more against the ground game of Western Michigan that actually has a very capable offensive line and some solid running backs as well. So for that reason, and this game will be close. I think it'll come down to the wire. but I do think Western Michigan has enough firepower with Eskridge, with LB at quarterback, and I do think they will win this game by at least 2 points. The play that I once again here for Wednesday, November 18th, is going to be on the Western Michigan Broncos -1, which is available on Fox Bet -110. That's been the Stallman Scott Selections. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.